Hi everyone, we continue talking about different aspects of international public relations and how international public relations practice is different from traditional public relations practice. So with so many stakeholders that organizations have in the international context, how do corporations and their public relations departments manage to get things done? So typically there are two tasks that they have at hand. One is to keep the global organizational image in their operations consistent across all the countries where that corporation or an organization operates. The second task is being relevant to local consumers in every location. These things are actually kind of contradict one another if you look at them. So basically a company wants to be the same across all their locations, preserve their identity, and at the same time they want to be different, to be relevant to different consumer groups in all of those different locations, right? And that's called the global versus local paradox. So what are the options that we have to solve that paradox? So the first approach that we could take could be called something like when in Rome, do as the Romans do. We could look at local companies in the country of interest and just replicate whatever they do, right? All the ways that they do their business. And as a result, our multinational corporation will be actually a bunch of different companies across all the locations where they have presence in. So the second option would be to go the opposite route and practice public relations and do just business in general the same way as we do it in our home country. But again, how do we make sure that we stay relevant to consumers in all our markets? For example, you can't sell beef burgers in India just because cows are holy there and they just don't eat beef, right? The third route that actually most companies choose is the hybrid approach of the previous two. So we adjust our product and strategies and public relations tactics to meet the preferences of the consumers in each of our target markets, while preserving the key elements that make our brand recognizable globally. And so this strategy is called glocalization, which is a combination of two words, globalization and localization. Now let's look at two versions of the Starbucks website. I took the screenshots at the same day, the same time, and one of them was the American version of the website and the other one was the Russian version of the Starbucks website. So what do these websites have in common? I would say the layout, the menu, the Starbucks logo, all these things look similar if not identical. Even if you don't understand the language, you can still recognize that this is a Starbucks website. So the brand did not lose its identity here. But what is different? I would say the focus, the first thing that you see when you open the website. The first thing that you see on the Russian website is tea, while the first thing that you see in the American version is the company's joint CSR efforts. And I think that's because tea is still more popular than coffee in our country, and also because American consumers are way more concerned about corporate social responsibility than probably any nation in the world. And this is something you will never or seldom see on a Russian website. And I think probably that's because of the economy issues. Most people are really struggling to survive and have no time to care that much about others' well-being. And companies don't really bother so much about CSR. And the second possible explanation is also maybe because our culture and religion teaches us that good deeds should go unannounced. And if someone heavily advertises their CSR efforts, we just can see it as a show-off, and this is something that is done just for PR purposes. So there's very little trust in activism and corporate social responsibility. So the Starbucks website is just a small example of how glocalization works. In order to be able to successfully adjust more complex things like global public relations campaigns, to tailor them to individual preferences of each individual market where we operate, we need to be able to analyze those local markets on several very important factors that we've talked about earlier. And just to remind you, they include political and legal system and the whole society, its economy, its technological development, which includes literacy rate, which includes media system, media penetration, internet penetrations, and things like that. And finally, its culture. Not all of these factors will be influencing your campaign directly at a surface level. Some of them probably will have a stronger impact on what you're doing in terms of public relations, but they all definitely influence corporate decisions on whether even to enter a certain market or not. Okay, this is it for today, and see you soon.